Alright, I want to talk about the unfair train service we get here in Westbury. I don't know how the lighting in this video is, but I'm not going to be talking for long anyway, so I'll correct it if it's too dark. But anyway, I want to talk about the unfair train service we get here in Westbury and what happened to me the other night because of it. You know, later at night, once you get past, say, 10 o'clock, we have even less than hourly service here in Westbury. And so on Sunday, it was a beautiful day, and I took a hike in New Jersey, but the traffic was terrible. And as a result of that, the bus was like an hour late. All right, so because of the traffic and because of all those things, and also had a little bad luck because the bus on the way out to Taunton broke down, and we had to it broke down. It was 7169, broke down, and we had to wait about 40 minutes for another bus. They sent another bus, but those I was speaking with the driver. Those MCI D4500 CLs, the ones that with in the 7100 series, they break down a lot. I think I've talked about this before a while ago, but they do break down a lot. But we're getting too far off topic here, topic of this video. But anyway, it was terrible traffic going back, and I thought for sure I was allowing almost 2.5 hours to catch a train at New York, and I thought that would be enough time. So what happened was we had terrible traffic, and I missed the 1022 train that goes to Westbury. And as a result of that, the next train that goes to Westbury doesn't leave Penn until 11:42. So it's over an hour wait for the next train that stops in Westbury. However, there was another Huntington train at 10:51. And I decided to take that train and then just get off at Carl Place and then walk, despite the fact that my feet were sore from all the hiking that I did that day. It was quicker than me having to wait for the next Westbury train. But what happened was we wound up getting delayed due to, Sunday night. When I was in New Jersey, and I'll say it again, the people in New Jersey are very polite, kind, quiet people. They seem to have respect for one another. The minute I got back on the train to go to Long Island, it was a big slap in the face to me because the people are so polite in New Jersey. And then I get back on the train, and it's bad enough that I'm pissed off because I missed the 1022 train, and the next train to Westbury doesn't leave until 11:42, and then I had to walk from Carl Place. But the train was full of these obnoxious, drunk, rich people, very uppity people. I actually managed to get in a couple of arguments with some of them because I was tired and I didn't want to hear their annoying voices. But anyway, this is what happened. We got delayed.
Don't worry if it's not good enough
to move this train along. Just
sing a song. La 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 la.
See, Laura, you would be great with Sean. You would be great.
What is going on?
Sing out loud. Sing out strong.
Can we just hear the announcement for 1 second?
Sorry.
What did they say?
They've said nothing.
No, they made an announcement.
Oh, usually you can't hear it.
The announcement is that we're now moving.
And that the air conditioning has been turned on.
Bad news, folks. We're stuck here, and I don't know why.
Alright, I love you.
This is stupid. Why are we stuck here? We're sitting here. We've been here for 5 minutes already. It's worse being stuck on the train than being stuck on the train with annoying people. I don't know what the hell that was about. People getting on the Babylon train. Take a guess.
I would go.
Sing a song.
I love the Carpenters, but they just ruined that song for me.
Wow.
Good. Yeah, we got problems. My train is being delayed due to a drunk now. I'm sitting in Jamaica. This is absolute bullshit. I may get off this train and just wait for the Westbury one. We're so freaking late already. It's ridiculous. We're so late. We're like 15 minutes late now. Yeah, I don't know. They got her off the train. This is what I have to listen to.
Yeah, so we got delayed, and I wound up actually, because we got delayed, I wound up getting off the train at Mineola. Luckily, I still had my ticket. The conductor just wrote on it. I got off at Mineola, and I had to wait there for the Westbury train. And I still had to wait a half an hour in Mineola for the Westbury train to come. And guess what? The following train also stops at Carl Place. So I want to look at some of the schedules and show you how pathetic it is living in Westbury. You know, it's bad enough. I said I'm not going to talk about it too much anymore. It's bad enough having to deal with, you know, all the illegals around hanging out. It's bad enough having to deal with the crime. It's bad enough having to deal with seeing things like people peeing in front of stores, and having no life. But dealing with the crappy train schedule here is absolutely ridiculous. I would, if I lived almost anywhere else, I would have gotten home sooner. So we're going to look at some train schedules, and I'll show you just how pathetic it is in Westbury. Okay, you are looking at a timetable here for the Port Jefferson branch. This area, this particular section of the timetable is for weekend evenings, all right? And I want you to note now, Westbury is this column right here. So where I have my mouse here at the 05s, that's where Westbury is. All right, so what happened is, now the way it's laid out, and I've talked about this before, is they have the trains alternate stops. Certain Huntington trains will stop at New Hyde Park and Carl Place, you know, along with Mineola and Hicksville, and then others will stop at Maryland Avenue and Westbury. It's stupid. They should be making all stops. They shouldn't be alternating stops, but, you know, the railroad refuses to listen. I've spoken with the guy in the schedule department. They make excuses. They refuse to listen when it comes to changing these schedules. But anyway, all right, we have hourly service at Westbury most of the time, all right, off-peak. But once we get later in the evening after the 10:22 train, which I missed, and I would have been home at 11:05 had I taken that. With the next train at 10:51 it gets to Carl Place 11:31, but it doesn't stop in Westbury. And the problem is the next Huntington train that goes to the next train period that stops at Westbury doesn't leave Penn until 11:42. And that train makes all stops. All stops that train makes. So it gets into Westbury at 12:24. That's when I got into Westbury at 12:24. I get to the city at 10:40, and I don't get home until 12:24. Pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Now take note that Syosset and Cold Spring Harbor, especially Cold Spring Harbor, gets half hourly service. Cold Spring Harbor is a wealthy area, and they get more train service because of it. There's less ridership on the weekends, but they get more train service. So let's now take a look at some of the other, see why if I lived anywhere else, I actually would have gotten home quicker. All right? All right? Now, if I lived in, say, Syosset, let's say I lived in Huntington. All right? Let's say I lived in Huntington. I would have gotten home, I would have gotten to the station at 11:56. That would have been sooner than had I lived in Westbury. All right? So we're going to look at some of the other branches. And there's also a Ronkonkoma train. That doesn't stop at Westbury either. So we're going to look at the Ronkonkoma line at the same time. You can see now the Ronkonkoma train has regular hourly service. So let's say I lived in Farmingdale. I would have been on the 11:12 train, and I would have gotten into Farmingdale at 12:06. That's still quicker than if I lived in Westbury. Hell, even if I lived all the way out in Deer Park, I would have been off the train at 12:17. That's still quicker than I would have gotten home to Westbury. All right, so you can see how it's looking here. All right, you're better off living almost anywhere but Westbury when you're relying on trains in the late evening hours. All right, because so many trains just skip Westbury. All right, so now we're going to look at, and of course, if I lived in Mineola, I would have had my choice of trains. I would have been back. I would have been back so much sooner. But nope, got to be rich to live in Mineola too. So. Let's go ahead and look at another branch here. Let's look at the Babylon branch, our precious Babylon branch. See how much service they get. Hopefully you can see that a little better. Alright, so the Babylon branch here, had I lived along the Babylon branch, I would have been on a 1039. I actually had a choice of 2 trains here that night. A 1039 train, which I probably would have made, that would have gotten me, let's say hypothetically I lived in Belmore, the town that hates me. I would have been hopping off that train at 11:32. And the next train at 10:57, yeah, there's another train, not even a half an hour later. See how spoiled they are here? At 10:57, they get another train that would have gotten into Belmore at 11:49. All right? So you see how pathetic it was? Even if I lived all the way out in freaking Babylon, I would have been home quicker than I lived in Westbury. This is how bad the train service is here in Westbury. We got some of the worst train service on any main branch because so many trains just skip our station. It's ridiculous. But I want to show you one other thing here. All right, so you can see, and also let me just scoot over here and show you how great late night service is on the Babylon branch. You still, even after midnight, you still have trains every half an hour. It's not until after the 12:39 that you have to wait a while. But it's like Westbury shuts down at night here. We don't get any service at night here.
So you can see how pathetic it is. They have so many trains that skip Westbury. I mean, the 1051, because the next train after the 1022 is until 11:42, the 1051 train that stops in Carl Place should also stop in Westbury because the 11:42 train stops in Carl Place and Westbury. So Carl Place at that hour on a weekend night gets more train service than Westbury does. And Westbury is a more heavily used station. It's just like what I've talked about before, that the Cold Spring Harbor in Syosset, especially Cold Spring Harbor, a very lightly used station on the weekends, gets way more train service than Westbury. That's because it's a rich area. I actually spoke with the conductor. He agreed that the railroad is discriminating against us. The railroad under Title VI has an obligation to provide adequate service to communities of lower income, such as Westbury. That is not happening. It was a miserable night, and I was pissed off. And, it is very unfair. That's why you're not seeing me make too many videos, because I'm continuing to fight like hell to get out of this town. It's worse than ever. I'm just going to put it that way. It's worse than ever. And I still can't take off the table leaving the island entirely, because it seems that you have to be one of these rich uppity people to live in a decent area with decent train service, because they have taken over all the decent towns on Long Island, and therefore, they've made it expensive. So, I don't know. Moving to New Jersey, I don't know. But I don't want to leave Long Island, like I said before, and I really don't want to get too much into that. I just wanted to talk big, pretty much, about how much train service sucks in this town. There are too many trains that skip this station. It's a low-income area. The railroad is violating the Title VI. I filed a complaint. Nothing ever came of it. I never heard back from the Federal Transportation Administration. Just the only thing they said is that they received my complaint, but I have not heard back since. But I'm going to be, once again, reaching out to some elected officials and some people at the MTA and filing another complaint, because this is unacceptable. As long as I'm living in this forgotten ghost town, I will continue to complain about the trains here, because it is a low-income area, and under Title VI they have an obligation to provide sufficient service, and they're not doing that. Instead, they're discriminating against us. So, this battle isn't over yet. The Long Island Railroad needs to add some stops in Westbury. I would never do it. I am a law-abiding citizen, but I really couldn't blame somebody for pulling the brake as it goes through Westbury so they can get off, because the train passes right through. It should be stopping. There's no reason for this bullshit. When you look at Metro North and the structures of other public transportation systems, they don't have this inequality of train service that the Long Island Railroad has. I've talked about that before in another video. Several videos I made about the inequality with the trains. So it's nothing new. It's been a problem for a while, and the railroad is still not addressing it. But you can rest assured, even though I'm not talking about all these other issues, that I will continue to talk about the trains, the Long Island Railroad's discrimination, because it's completely unacceptable, and it's got to stop. You can't, MTA, you can't get away with this shit. You think you're going to get away with it, but one of these days we're going to the government is going to come in and tell you got to have more trains stopping at Westbury. All right, that's akin to having, what they do at Westbury is akin to having every other Ronkonkoma train just skipped Wyandanch. And every Ronkonkoma train stops there. So why are they treating Westbury differently? This town has no political clout at all. I think Wyandanch has more political clout than this town. We're just completely forgotten by the railroad, but forgotten by everybody, you know. And that's why nobody wants to live here. I don't blame, I'm trying to get out. But I don't want to get too much into that. I just want to bring up one other thing, a little bit of positive news, and this again is a little off topic. I really don't want to make a habit of doing these, talking about this stuff, but I'm pleased to say our president has gotten back on the right track. Scaramucci's out. He's got this Kelly guy in, getting more conservatives in, and maybe getting rid of enforcing the law again in this country. That's all. I don't want to spend more than even 20 seconds talking about it, but I support the law enforcement in this country, and I want to see the laws enforced, because our community is struggling because of those laws not being enforced, and that's got to change. But I don't really want to get too much into that. I wish me luck on my continued search to escape this town. You know, one way or another I'll get out, whether it's going to be on Long Island or maybe moving to New Jersey, but this town is just a lost cause. It's a shame. It could be a great place, but it's just time to throw in the towel and get the hell out like everybody else. Anyway, take it easy. Thank you for watching.